guys, welcome back to the channel. Okay, it is our favorite time of year, and that is Hobonichi season. So by now, they have just released the full lineup for 2024, and I thought, what better time than to make a video about everything Hobonichi. So I'm going to break this down into a few different sections. You can check the timestamps and the time bar down below if there's a specific area you want to go to. But I first wanted to talk about like the basics for those of us who are kind of new to Hobonichi and are overwhelmed by all the options and all the different products that they have. Hopefully this can help you guys. So I'm going to start with the basics of, what types of planners they have, what sizes they have, cover options, all that kind of stuff. And then we'll talk a little bit about, where you can buy Hobonichis and the pros and cons of kind of each of those options. And then finally, at the very end, I will walk through the 2024 lineup with you guys based on what's online right now. I'll take you through the website on what's new, what's old, and what's my thoughts on the different options and what I'm thinking for 2024. So if you already know about Hobonichi and you don't need the basics, you can just jump straight over to that last section if you only care about what I was thinking for 2024 in terms of their new lineup options. Okay, so let's get right into it and we'll start with the basics. Okay, so the first thing we'll talk about is just the sizes that Hobonichi offers, and they actually make it quite simple for you. So they have the week size, which is essentially this slim pocketbook style. Then they have A6 size, and then they have A5. And for those of you guys who don't know, A6 is actually just half of A5. So if you trim the A5 in half, you would get A6. So that's how that naming convention works. So the sizes are pretty straightforward, and I think they make it quite streamlined and easy for us to decide in some sense, because with the slim pocket notebook, this is really to mimic kind of like a wallet, to like a checkbook, something that's easy to carry on the go. It's very thin, very light. I mean, all the books are relatively thin. But that's the week size. And then they kind of have this A6 size, which is still quite portable. But for those of us who don't like that like narrowness of the weeks, they can use the A6 size and still have something that's very portable. This is much more of that square shape, which is nice for those of us who kind of like to have some space horizontally. Then for those of us who are really big writers, or they like to write a lot or have big handwriting, we have the A6 size, and this is perfect for those of us who need a bit more space. And let me just compare this to a US letter size paper so that you can kind of see what size that is if you don't know. So this is basically a size of US letter paper, and so if I compare the A5 to letter size, that looks like that. And for those of us who have never tried A5, for me, I always thought A5 looked really big on camera, but I was always actually quite surprised when I received it to see that it's like, once you get it in your hand, you realize it's actually not as big as it seems on camera in a lot of videos. So that's just the reference on the sizes there for you. So now let's get into the types of planners. And I think an easy way to break this down is kind of by like the contents that are in the planner. So they have the 5-year planner, which obviously covers 5 years. They have planners that have monthlies in them, among other things. They have daily planners that obviously have dailies in them. And then they have weekly planners that obviously have weeks in them, but some of them might have the months, but some might only have the weeks. And then of course they have daily planners, which, I mean, as the name says, it has all of the daily pages for you. And then kind of lastly, they have just grid notebooks. If you're not really looking for like any kind of dated planner, you just want a notebook, they have that option as well. So that's kind of the different types of planners. And those types of planners cover different sizes. Okay, so let's start with the first one, which we said was the 5-year type planners. So I don't have a 5-year planner here with me, but essentially the 5-year planner is 1 day per page, but they have like a space for each day over the 5 years, if that makes sense. I will show you a picture on the screen here. And it's really meant to be kind of a memory planner, so you can kind of see what you did on that same day in the past 5 years. Then they have the planners that have have the monthly pages, which is essentially all of their planners. So that's the A5 Hobonichi Cousins, the A6 Original or the Techo, and I'll explain the difference between those two, and as well as the Weeks and the day-free notebooks, okay? And then, of course, they have the planners that have the weeklies in them, so the Hobonichi Weeks and the A5 Cousin. Okay, so the A6 does not have the weeklies in them. And then lastly, they have the daily planners, which is the planners that have daily pages. So the only planners that have daily pages is the A5 Hobonichi Cousin and the A6 Original or the A6 Techos. Okay, so the weeks do not have the dailies in them. And then lastly, like I said, the notebook is just a notebook. But the day free that I mentioned earlier is essentially a notebook, but it has the monthlies at the front. So it has the 12 months and then the back is just our grid pages. Okay, so those are kind of the different types. Hopefully that makes sense. You can kind of tell by just going through those types. There's kind of, I would say, the three main types of planners that everybody talks about, which is the A5 Cousins, the A6 Original or the A6 Techos. Really, the A6 Original and Techos are the same. I think the naming difference between those two was really just the Japanese version versus the English version. And that was the only planner that had an English version when the Hobonichi lines first came out. But now Hobonichi has launched them in the Cousins as well as the Weeks, so you can get English in all the types of planners essentially. So then let's kind of go through each of those in a bit more detail. So let's start with the A5 sizes. So again, like I said, I don't have the 5-year A5, but you can take a look at those online if you want. Okay, so I have the two A5 Hobonichi Cousins here for you. One of them is a spring start that you'll see here. So if you guys don't know, Hobonichi releases their planners in January for a January start, and those are released this September in the fall. As well, they have a spring launch, which means that the planners start in April and they're launched in the new year. So you can get them at either time, but a lot of the time some of the unique covers and whatnot that you'll see might not be available in the spring versions. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So here you'll see I have two different types, and I'll explain why. And that's because for the Hobonichi Cousin in the A5 size, you can get them in full year and half year. So in the half year, you'll get 2 booklets. In the full year, you'll get obviously 1 booklet. And they do this in the A5 Cousins as well as the A6 notebooks. And so let me talk a bit more about the Cousins. So basically in the A5 Cousin, it's the only planner that you can get that has the monthlies, all the monthly pages, the weekly pages, as well as the daily pages. So it's quite a big notebook and it's very comprehensive, and I think that's why some people really love it, because you really can do all your planning in one spot. I do want to note that the weeklies are vertical weeklies, and so for those of you guys who are horizontal planners, they do not have a cousin that has a weekly that's horizontal. That's only in the weeks. The cousin is strictly vertical, for those of you guys who don't know or who like to plan horizontally for their weeks. Okay, so that's kind of what that looks like. And then the half year version is the exact same, just that you get those same pages, but for half the year. So you have the monthlies, the weeklies again, and then the dailies. And I think some people prefer the half year because obviously it's only half the book. And so, you know, as you write in it or you tape things in or use stickers, it starts to really chunk up, and it can get quite heavy if you're carrying a full year. So I think some people like to have just the half year so that as it chunks up, you're not carrying so much and it's just easier to carry. The other thing that you can do is have the half year and pair it with a separate notebook, an A5 sized notebook that Hobonichi also sells. And then you can kind of have a notebook for more of your notes if you're a bigger note taker and you think you'll fill up more than kind of the one page that you have here. That's kind of everything to do with the A5 Cousin. They have these in Monday start as well as Sunday start. And like I said, they also have them in the Japanese version as well as the Canadian version or the English version. And really the difference is the Japanese sayings down here are obviously in English. And of course the characters up here are in English. Okay, so the next size let's talk about is the A6, and I don't actually have like a Hobonichi A6, so the one I'm using is actually an AliExpress alternative, and I'll link it down below. They had these every single year. It's very similar to the Hobonichi. It's in the A6 size. It has the same layout I'll talk about in a minute, so I'll link this one down below. This one was from 2023. I haven't seen the 2024 links out yet, but you know, I'll keep watching out for it, and if it gets updated, I'll link that one down below as well. But for now, I'll link the 2023 so you can kind of get a gist of what it looks like. Okay, so the A6 size, when they first came out, and this year they added something new called the Hon, the H-O-N. I don't know if it's pronounced the Hon, but anyways, we'll talk about that in a second. But all the layouts of the three different options, so the Hon or the H-O-N, plus the original and the Techo, so they had the black one and then the yellow covered one that looks like the Cousin. The layout is the exact same, okay? It's just that the cover is a little bit different, and also one is English, one is Japanese, okay? Okay. So the layout of the A6 is that it has the monthlies at the front, the month on 2 pages, and then it just has all of the dailies, so 1 page per day, okay? And then they have them in the full year as well as the 2 books for the half year, similar with the Cousin. Then, like I said, it has the Japanese version, which has the Japanese writing, and then they also have the English version, which obviously has the English. And that's really the only difference between this original that had the black cover and then the Techo, I think it's called the Techo, which had the yellow cover. And these are available, again, in the fall for the January start or the April start. Then this year, or I think they added it, I can't remember if it was last year or the middle of last year, they added what they called the Hon, the H-O-N, which was a hardcover book that looks exactly like this, but it has a harder cover, kind of like the Weeks, this kind of cover. So it's not completely hard, but it's, you know, this, I don't know, cardstock, very, very thick cardstocky cover, okay? And they had it in just this like black one with like one strip kind of thing across the side. And then this year they introduced it with a bunch of different cover options, like different colors and all that kind of stuff. And I'll talk about that in a minute, or I'll show you when we go through the lineup and whatnot. But all of the contents are the same. The point of the Hon is just that it was like a harder cover if you just wanted to use it like a book on its own without having to put like another cover over top. That was the purpose of the Hon from what I understood. Okay, so that is the A6. And then let's talk a bit about the Weeks. Okay, so I have a few different options here. So again, all of these weeks, the contents are essentially the same. Okay, the Mega though it has more pages in the back. So when you get any kind of weeks that is called a Mega Weeks, you get 215 pages. Okay. Whereas the regular weeks, the layout is the same, just that in the back, you only get 75 pages. Okay, so that's the difference. And then you kind of have a few different cover options. So you have the regular weeks kind of in this kind of cover is what I call the regular weeks, this kind of cardstocky cover like this. They also have one that kind of looks like this, but is called leather. So this cover is actually leather, and it's a bit pricier because it's obviously leather, but it looks like this. Then they have this kind of like smooth cover where it's like very thin. This one is like quite thick cardstock. You can see that it's like still flexible a little bit, but it's pretty hard. Whereas this one is like very soft, and it's almost like a PVC feeling, not PVC, sorry, like a pleathery feeling cover. And so the contents though are the exact same. The size is the exact same from like a height and width perspective. But just the cover material is different. Also, something important to note is that this smooth cover doesn't lie flat. Okay. So I didn't know that before, but yeah, it does not lie flat at all. Unless you like really train the spine, I think. Whereas these covers, they lie flat. Wherever you are in the book, they lie perfectly flat. Okay? Then the other one that you'll see is called the Sneaker Weeks. And the Sneaker Weeks is just that all the pages are flush with the cover. So you'll see that the cover it looks smaller, but the pages aren't actually smaller. It's just that this book has kind of like a little bit of an edge. Whereas this one, the Hobonichi Weeks sneaker, the cover is the same size as the inner pages. And it's a very flexible cover. It's just like a hard cardstock. And I think the thought is like you just tuck this in your back pocket kind of thing and everything is flush. And it's quite nice too. But this sneaker only comes in the Mega. So it only comes with the 215 pages in the back. So those are kind of the different covers. And then of course they also have the different design covers like this. And we'll walk through those in a little bit. Sometimes they have designs that are similar year over year, and then they always introduce new covers as well. But the layouts on the insides are all the same. Okay, so those are kind of the 3 planner styles, and even though they seem like they have so many options, the contents of them are very straightforward and simple. This one has the monthly, the weekly, the dailies. This one only has monthly and dailies, and this one only has monthly and weeklies. Okay, so those are kind of the options. And then they do also have notebooks, like just grid notebooks like this. So this is the A6 size grid notebook, and it just has pages of grid. I think it's a 4mm grid. And then they also have the day free, which is just like this, except it has the months in the front and then the grid pages in the back. So those are kind of the different planners and the different planner styles and the naming, and hopefully that helps you guys out a little bit. If you guys have any other questions, let me know down below. I'm not like a complete expert, I definitely wouldn't say, but I have tried out a lot of Hobonichis over the years, so to the extent that I can answer the questions, I will down below. Oh, I should also say that this comes in an A5 size 2 on AliExpress. I will link it down below, and I have some detailed videos about these that I did last year that I will link down below as well. Okay, so then let's talk about where to purchase these from. So obviously you can get these on the Hobonichi website starting September 1st. So some of them are released September 1st, and then some of the other styles, like the unique styles of planner covers, are available October 1st. But you can definitely get them on Hobonichi, but of course the shipping is a lot. So if you just look at the planner price, it's actually cheaper than the price that you would get in a local stationery store or on Amazon. And that's because you haven't checked out with shipping yet. The shipping does cost quite a bit because it's coming from Japan. So that's the caveat there. But of course, if you are going to buy a whole bunch of things together, the shipping was probably going to be worth it, because in your local shop, they build in obviously a shipping price with each of the planners that you buy at the local shop as well. Now, one of the benefits of buying it on the Hobonichi site is that you get a freebie, especially if you're going to buy the planners. Definitely with these bigger, more expensive ones like the A5 Cousin or the A6 Techo or Originals, you get the pen. So let me show you one from previous years. So this was the pen from last year. It's a Uni Jetstream. It's the same pen every single year, just the design, the color is different, but it's always this like multi-type pen with the black, the blue, and the red. And it looks like this, but the coloring is just different. And a lot of people didn't like this black and brown one. I thought it was okay. And this year I really like the color combo of this year's, 'cause it's kind of like this greeny olivey color. So you get this when you buy one of these big ones along with a pouch, like it's like a little carry pouch. You don't get to choose which pouch style, but you get a pouch when you buy these bigger planners. And then the pen comes with the weeks as well, but the weeks you don't get a pouch, and the day frees you don't get a pouch, you just get the pen. So that's the nice thing about buying it from Hobonichi directly, is you do get the freebie. And I do quite like this pen. It works very well with the Tomoe River paper. It doesn't smear, and it doesn't need time to dry, obviously, because it's just a ballpoint pen. So I do like that freebie. So that's really the only benefits I see from getting it from Hobonichi website. The other thing that you could do is kind of team up with friends and make a bulk order so that the shipping cost becomes lower, you know, when you spread it out between you and your friends. Okay, and then where else can you buy them? Of course, you can get them on kind of those major stationery websites like Jetpens and Yoseka Stationery. I'll link them down below for you, as well as some of your local stationery shops. Yeah, so there's a few places that you can get it locally as well, but I know some of the local shops, especially around here, they don't have them until like later in the year, like November, kind of near the end of the year, whereas obviously a lot of us want to get it earlier and kind of start planning for it and getting into it. And so a lot of us are pretty eager to get it ASAP. So in that case, you might want to order from the Hobonichi website. Okay, so those are where you can get it. And then now let's look together on the lineup for this year, and let me walk you through kind of my thoughts that I've been having over the past month of all of their releases. Okay guys, so I'm just here on the Hobonichi website on my iPad, and I thought we'd go through the full lineup together. This is the full 2024 lineup and everything that they have, so we can walk through it together. I'll tell you some of my thoughts, and maybe this will help you navigate their website as well. So, okay, we'll start at the top here. So here they have their kind of their original lineup. So here they have the A6 Techo and the A6 Techo English. And actually, I just noticed that the original is no longer black for this year, and they've turned it into the same yellow color. And then same with the English. Now they're basically the same. And so of these two, you can't even really tell. Like this one is the Japanese version, and then the other one is the English. Here is the monthly view we talked about. Here is the daily views that we talked about. And actually, one thing that I do want to point out is this timestamp. This timestamp used to be a little bit different between the English and the Japanese, but now I think they're the same now. Yeah, so that's the Japanese version. And then here is the English. And you'll see, yeah, the timestamps are the same along the side. Before, one of them was like spaced out a bit more and they only had like a few numbers, but now you get the whole timestamp. I like all of the timestamps, so I prefer this. But you'll see that everything else is the same. Just one is English, one is Japanese. And of course, like I mentioned, they have the A6 in the split. So you can have 2 books for the full year, 1 for each of the 6 months. And then lastly here, they have the special edition, like this one-piece edition with some of the comics in the pages, but the layouts are the same, just that they have like the comics within them. I won't go through like, you know, all the comics and whatnot. You can take a look at them by yourself. Okay, and actually, interesting enough, they do have the black one still. So this is the A6 Techo book that I was talking about earlier with the black cover, and this is the Japanese version with like the black cover and like the wording at the front, the characters. And this one is also a January start. So I guess they just now have this cover in the yellow or the black. But if you go to the black, you'll notice that the timestamps are now different. So here now it has the 12 and then this little meals at the bottom. So I think they changed these dailies up just a teeny bit. So depending on what you like I like the full timestamp, but if you don't, you might want to get this version. But this one only comes in the Japanese. Here is the day free book that we talked about, which is just the monthlies at the front and then the grids. And then they have a whole bunch of cover options in the A6. So these are all the options that you can get for those A6 books. And let's just talk about some of the new ones. Okay, so these kind of colors, like the solid colors, they've always had solid colors, and then they added a few new ones. I don't think I would get any of these. Let me actually show you one that I have from AliExpress, which is like this, and it just basically opens up like this, and you slip the books in, and then you can put your pen through here, and it acts like a pen holder as well as like a closure. This one is just from AliExpress. I just wanted to get it just to test the vibe and like if I like this style, and it's okay, but I don't love it, so I don't think I would buy one of those from Hobonichi. Yeah, but if you do, those are lots of different style and color options. And then the new ones this year are these designs. So there's one with the panda that looks like this, which is kind of cute. Let me see, move back in a little bit. And then they have these ones. So I really liked this one, Yumi Kitagishi? Yumi Kitagishi? I'm probably butchering that. And I just thought this one was so cute. But the only problem with this one, like it has little cats and little animals, and it's so colorful, and I really liked it. But I just could never see me like carrying this out or to work. So I just feel like it kind of limits my use. So yeah, I don't know if I would actually get one. Then they have that little character that's really popular, I think, in Japan. So then there's this one and this one, which almost looks like it's like a embroidered type style. Those ones are kind of cute. This one, this taro one, they have a few different types of designs with that one, which is interesting, but it's very shiny. Then they have this cover, that's kind of pretty. Then this One Piece, the comic book that we were talking about earlier. And then this like tri-fold style. So I won't go through all of them, but some of these are like, you see these ones, the new ones say like new in the corner, and then the other ones are like the older styles that they had in previous years. But there's just so many options. They also have like the zipper ones. The zipper ones are nice if you're like want to put loose papers and you're worried about it falling out. It's nice to have a zipper. Yeah, and then there's these like carry case ones that are pretty cool, but you can only get them in Japan. And then they have this one, which is like a notebook, and then there's just a strap. So there's just so many options. I can't possibly go through all of them, but to be honest, none of them like super caught my eye, except that kitty cat one that I was showing you, the cat one with the colors and other animals. I really like that one. And then the Mina Perhonen, like the symphony one, I thought was quite pretty. Like it's understated, but like you can tell like it's so beautiful with the details and whatnot. So I like that one as well. But A6 size, I don't know it's for me, so I'm not sure I would get an A6. So those are all the A6, and then it's going to go into the A5, so we can talk about those. Okay, so then the A5s, like I said, you have the Hobonichi Cousins in the English as well as in the Japanese versions, and then you have the half-year versions where you get 2 of them. And then you kind of go into the different cover options, and there's the day-free one again. And again, you'll see that the style is basically the same as the A6, just obviously these are A5 covers, but most of them are the same designs as the A6 version, just bigger. And so here's all the different types. I really kind of like this little suitcase one for some reason, but unfortunately they're all not available anywhere else but Japan. And actually I thought about this one last year too. I kind of like the notebook style. It's very easy to open and they're relatively less expensive than the other options, and it just says have a nice day on the front. But A5 size doesn't work for me. As I noticed this year, it's way too big. I barely filled out my Cousins, so I don't think I would get another one. Oh, here's the Mina Perhonen one for A5. It's the yellow one. I don't like that as much as the blue one in A6. So those are all the different options. Okay, and here we go with the Han. So the Han is the A6 size that looks like the Techo with the daily pages and the monthly pages, but it has a harder cover. So let me just show you the inside. So it has the monthlies, like we said, as well as the dailies, and it looks like the original one with the timestamps on the side. Okay. And you'll see that they have it in navy, they have it in ivory, but now, new to this year, they have them in all these different cover types that were kind of like the Hobonichi Weeks covers, but now they have them in this A6 size, which I think will be really exciting for a lot of people. Yeah, there's just so many options. One of the ones that I liked is this, but I think I would get it in the Weeks, is this dragon one. And I really like it because I was born in the year of the dragon, so I feel like I have to get one, but I would probably stick to the Weeks. Okay, so that's the Han. Okay, so then for the Weeks sizes, here's the one that I showed you, which is that like smooth cover, and you don't want that one if you want something that lies flat. Okay, so here are all the colored ones. I got the purple one last year. I guess it says it's new. I don't know why it's new because I did have a purple color. Maybe it's like a slightly different shade of purple. Okay, and then they have the panda one. They have this cat one that looked kind of cute. Again, some of these are like super cute. Like even this like really popular, the little popular character. What's it called? a poncho. Anyways, I think they're so cute, but like I couldn't imagine like taking that to work or just like carrying that out. So that's why it kind of stops me from getting it. And these are the botanical ones that they've had for a few years now, and I'm sure this one is going to be super popular and everybody will grab that one. But the one that I want, I think, is this one. So it's the same dragon one I showed you earlier in the A6 Han, but this is the week size. And it just like I said, it has the little dragons on it. I think it's like a little dragon boat. Let me show you. Okay, I don't know what it is about these pages, but it's kind of glitchy on the iPad interface, but that's what it looks like, and I think it's super cute, and I think I definitely need to get one of those. The only problem is like, how am I going to use the Hobonichi this year? I don't know. That is the question every year, and what am I going to use it for? And I never finish it. Like, I don't think I've ever finished any Hobonichi ever. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Okay, the Mother game, I guess, was pretty popular, and they have a few new like Mother styles. This one looks kind of cute, the little seahorses. That's kind of like the bow tie style that we had this year. Then there's one that's another bow tie style, that's the cats. The Liberty Fabrics one I know is really popular. I don't know, I just never loved that design personally. And then there's some other colors. See, I like this olive green color, except it's a leather cover and it's like a lot more expensive. It's $52, so I don't think I'm gonna get that. Oh, this is the other one I wanted. It's the Mega, the sneaker Mega. So the sneaker always comes in these like kind of colorful colors, and I'm sure they do that on purpose. But I notice each year it's like something quite like out there. Like last year was like a navy blue, which is the most toned down one I've seen, and then the other option was like a red. This year they have this turquoisey blue and this bright pink, and I kind of like this pink one. And I do like how the Sneaker Weeks, like the cover is the same size as the inside papers. The only problem with this is that because it's smaller than the regular weeks, it doesn't fit in like a clear cover. It doesn't fit in a lot of the other covers because it is a bit shorter, so you're gonna have a bit of a gap, which I don't love. So that's the only problem with that, which makes me want to stick with the other weeks, the one with the dragon. Yeah, so that's that. And then here are the week's cover options. There's a bunch of zip ones. The Mina Perhonen, that's a lottery one because it's so popular, and it's like almost $300 Canadian, which is just a bit too much for me. So this is the Noti, or not, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I have this one that I bought last year. And it just looks like this. And it looks very similar to the Filofax Saffiano, but it is a bit smaller. Here's what it looks like. It has the card slots here. It's perfect as a wallet, and what I love about this is that it lies completely flat, like the zipper. Well, not completely, but it lies pretty flat, whereas like the Saffiano Filofax zip has like quite a big spine, and it does not lie very well. So I got this last year. I was going to use it as a wallet and whatnot, and then I didn't use it as much as I wanted to. The story of my life. Okay, so those are the weeks, and then here is the 5-year Techos I was talking about. This is the standard every year. I can never finish a 5 years, so I don't bother with that. Instead, I get this 5-year journal from Amazon. Let me show you. It's this, and they have ones that say different things on the front. You don't have to get a mom one if you're not a mom, obviously, and it's like a 5-year journal that has like the 5 years, the lines in between, and I've been using this to record like my girls like sayings and funny things and whatnot, and that's worked out well for me. That one that I have is undated, which can be good or bad depending on how you want to use it for. I just fill in the dates, I don't mind, and then also if I skip a day I could like use that another year, so I do like that option for an undated. Okay, and then they have some of the 5-year covers. Because the 5-year is thicker, you'd want a cover that it compensates for that. So that's what those look like. And then below here, they just have the 2023 ones that are still on sale. And that's basically the lineup. So out of all of these things, like the ones that I want is definitely that Hobonichi Weeks with the dragons on them. And then I don't know about the other sizes. Like A5 completely didn't work for me this year, so I definitely won't get a cousin again. But maybe the A6, but I don't know. I don't know. The other thing that was interesting to me is possibly a day free, maybe an A6 day free, because then I could just use it as like a notebook, but I still have the monthlies. But I don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking for now. What are you guys wanting from this year's lineup? Are you guys getting the sterling ink instead? Like I ordered the sterling ink standard TN size, and that's already a dated planner. So I'm just trying to be very careful about how many planners I get this coming year. So I'm kind of weighing my options, but I really do like the weeks. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. What are you guys thinking for this year? Let me know down in the comments below, and I will chat with you guys there.